We are back. Giants baseball, past, present, and future. The host of the show is Tim Haller. I'm Ralph Tyko. How are you, big guy?
I'm doing okay, Ralph. How's everything up north today?
It's a nice day. We're, Tally and I, a little hectic. We're leaving for New York at the end of the month, and so much to do, all the right things to buy, to get ready. So we spent the day on foot in Berkeley, which was fun. If anybody has ever been to Berkeley, it is a people-watching extravaganza.
Well, but I know you're looking forward to that reunion. I know that's a big deal for you.
Oh, yeah, I have two reunions. One I'm going to announce tonight. One is my Jackson Heights, New York neighborhood reunion, 90th Street Park on the website. We used to call it the schoolyard. Now the young kids, the 60-year-olds, the young ones, grew up with it as the park. The 69-year-old ones, like me, it was the schoolyard. But the schoolyard was right in the middle of a 16-building co-op of buildings built right after the war in the very, very early 50s. And everybody there was like 6 floors, 11 people to a floor, 66 building tenants to a building, and across the street from that, a few years later, they built another development called Southridge, and that had a school very close, another schoolyard. So we had kids, every family had 2+ kids, and it was the 50s growing up. You were either a Giant fan, Dodger fan, or a Yankee fan, and it was pretty cool growing up there. And I'm going back. Tally's never been to New York. I haven't been to New York in 12 years. And so we're psyched as can be. And
sounds like a great time.
But the second story is that I have a friend on Facebook. His name is Ronald Harvin, and he lives in the Polo Grounds Apartments. And Tally and I are going to meet up at the entrance. They have a stairway monument to the Polo Grounds, and Ronald knows every inch of where home plate was in the Polo Grounds, and it's cool as hell.
Wow, how cool is that?
How cool is that? And I'm going to put out an event thing where anybody associated with the show back east, or anybody who listens, any Giant fans, we're all going to meet up at a certain day. I don't have the day finalized, a certain day and time, naturally. Right at that stairway, which is...
so do they have, like, areas that are marked off, Ralph? I mean, do they have, like, little memoriams throughout the...
I know they've fixed up the stairway, and they have a little memorial to the stadium and what have you. That's as far as I do know. But from Ronald, he can tell you he'll be able to tell us, anybody shows up, where everything was, and it's just for me cool as can be, because my second home growing up was the Polo Grounds when I was a little kid. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, what a great time. Good for you. I'm jealous. I know. Earlier this summer I got a chance to go back up to the Bay Area and celebrate a 35th high school reunion, and I'll tell you, those memories will last, until I'm gone, and it's just a wonderful time. Good for you.
Absolutely, and you meet folks that you knew and didn't know from those days. Like, I've acquainted myself with folks on Facebook that from the group, from the reunion group and the neighborhood group. People I know by name, I didn't really know. Maybe my brother knew him, maybe another friend knew him, but they become your friends, and then you meet them and you meet them. It's an amazing age. I really have to put a big shout out to Zimmerman with Facebook. This is a man not just for me, but look at what we've done to open it up to communicate and find lost friends over the years, and Facebook is pretty terrific. I'll give it that. What's new with you? This has been kind of a weird week for you and I as fans, because I grew up being a New York Giant fan. I still love them. They're out here. They're second son. I became a Met fan when they were born. They left me when I was 11. I realize it's all one big franchise, and but when the Giants played the Mets, I'm rooting for the Mets, and last night's game went my way. Today's game went, or the other way around, your way, and today's game went my way. Tell me what's happening with the Giants, and I'll try to tell you a little bit what I think is happening with the Mets.
Well, I think that the Giants are still a little bit, this is just sort of a continuance, I guess is the best way to say it, since after the All-Star break. And then I think over the last probably 14 days, couple of weeks, the move with Duffy going to Tampa and Matt Moore coming to the Giants, I think that there's little unrest in the clubhouse. I think the guys, obviously, when you're losing, you're a little bit out of sync, obviously. But when you lose personnel or, the brotherhood, it takes a little while to adjust. There's a period of time, there's a mourning and a grief period. I really think and believe in that. Today was not a good outing for Moore again. He struggled. His stuff looks flat. Very little movement. He got hit very hard. His control was, mediocre at best. I mean, he walked another 3 guys. The Mets, really took it to him pretty well early. So I think it's a combination of things. And ultimately, if you're not winning, there is that, unease going on. That pink elephant in the room. These guys are too good to be playing the way they've been playing. But I really believe wholeheartedly that the absence of Matt Duffy is lingering in that clubhouse. So that's sort of my thing on that.
Let's talk a little bit about what the loss of a player like Matt Duffy. The average a casual baseball fan could look how much money they're making and this, that, and the other thing, and he'll take his $1 million salary someplace else, and this, that, and the other thing. And they'll also say things like, well, the Matt Duffy, Crawford, those guys, Belt, I mean, they've only been together like a year and a half, 2 years since Matt Duffy came up. It's not that. Those guys all came up together in the minor league for years. I mean, can you imagine a bunch of guys? I equate it with going into the Air Force. Some of the closest friends I've made over the course of a lifetime were friends that were going through the exact same thing that I was going through, and the basic training and this, that, and the other thing, and putting up with what we used to call we had names for it that weren't very nice, chicken shit this and that. Well, you know what? It's the same kind of closeness when in rookie league guys get together and the teams are honed down and tryouts and this and that, and they cut their rosters. These guys are left, and then they bond. They become roommates. They're on road trips. Years and years of knowing, of fighting with each other and fighting the other team. You know what I'm saying? Competing with each other.
I do.
And then,
I really do.
Right? Am
I really do. You do. And here's another thing that the average ordinary fan doesn't take a lot into consideration. These guys are together basically every day from mid-February until the first week of October if they don't get to postseason play. And during that 6+ months, well, it's actually much longer. It's actually longer than the 6 months. But during that period of time, that 8 months really is what it is. That whole period of time, throughout the season, there are only 18 off days. So these guys are eating, sleeping, flying, traveling, and then obviously playing together every day of 2/3 of the year. And they become closer than some families are. And when one of those pegs is missing or removed, it can be devastating. I know that Posey and Crawford and Belt and Panic, and I'm sure there's several other guys in that clubhouse that truly miss Matt Duffy's presence, just from a personality standpoint. Not so much what he did on the field, but they absolutely appreciated what he did, between the lines. But they miss him because he's one of their brothers, and it's tough. It's hard, and I know that it's taken a relative toll on the guys, on the morale. When stuff like this happens and it doesn't turn out as well as maybe everybody had hoped for, there starts to be a little bit of questioning then. And in this case, I think that they're questioning a little bit on the decision-making of the upper brass on making a deal like this. And then you throw the component in of, now we have a new guy that, trying to fit in, and he's having great difficulty probably smelting in with the rest of his teammates, but then when he's going out to pitch, he's not doing well. And that's got to be tough, too. So, there's all these little dynamics going on, and, it's just like, it's like a death in the family. Matt Duffy being there, he was a figure in that infield. He was a figure in that clubhouse. He was a figure in that lineup. And you just don't get over it overnight. Yeah, they're making great money, and if everybody could do it, they'd be doing it too. It's really easy for us to be critical of baseball players, but what they do, pay them. Give them the money, because there's not a lot of us in this world that can do what they do in terms of playing at that level, all the travel demands, everything that they have to do within that 2/3 of a year and scrunch it in to make a full season. It's not an easy job. And if everybody could do it, well,
this guy makes $1 million. Somebody's paying him $1 million.
Sure.
It isn't like he's extorting the money. Well, I'm a great this, that, and the other thing. No, it's entertainment. Somebody's paying.
Right. And that guy just didn't roll out of bed and become a Major League Baseball player. He's dedicated and sacrificed himself to the nth degree to get to that level. And the work that has to be put in alone, outside of just playing in a game, is just it's enormous. So the average fan doesn't. The average fan. Yeah. The emotional.
I was going to say, not just the emotional ups and downs of relying on your body, and if there's an injury, God forbid an injury like yours, that's not what what ended your career. I'm talking about an injury that you can come back from, but you may not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and that being said as well, and then if you hit a little bit of a slump, you go for a week or something, for 25, inside your mind, you're going, you start to doubt yourself. you really actually, baseball players are probably some of the most insecure guys I know. And, you know, you wouldn't think that because of how brash and macho they are out there on the field, you know, but they are very insecure guys. And when it's going good, it's going good, you know, and they pop out their chest and they're, you know, cocky and et cetera. But when things aren't going good, they start to doubt themselves. They really start to go, oh my God, you know, can I really hit this kind of pitching? And, you know, and then you compare yourself to everybody else out there who's having success. So there's a lot going on between the ears of a baseball player besides just playing baseball, you know. And
with a pitcher, it's that I could make the perfect pitch, could hit the perfect corner right on the corner, and a batter could rake it up to the opposite field for a 3-run double, and you just shrug your shoulders. And for a hitter, same exact way. You could smoke one. I watched a Willie Mack tape the other day of him hitting to Bobby Richardson in the '62 World Series. He smoked it. It was right at him. But if you saw that swing, it was a full McCovey swing. It was no arch on it, but wow. And so what more could have he done? The perfect shot, the perfect swing, right at him. There's a lot
absolutely nothing. He could have done nothing, and you know that's the beauty of this game. You know, that's just the beauty of the game. You know, in baseball, you fail a lot more than you succeed. I mean, a good hitter in baseball, if you get 3 hits out of 10 attempts or 10 at bats, you're a star. But if you go to the office every day and you're doing something different, you're trying to drive a nail into a 2x4, and you only do it 3 out of 10 times, you're going to be doing something else.
You have to start measuring success of an at-bat differently. Like, did I take that guy to 7 pitches, for instance? Did I make a productive out? There's all the intangibles that just don't show up in batting average and on-base percentage and this, that, and the other thing. The things that make for a good teammate and make for missing a good teammate when he's gone. And I can't think of another guy that did for the Giants the little things that don't show up in the box score, that even the keenest of fans aren't trained to realize and to be able to see. The cutoff, you know, all those things that go into being in the right place at the right time.
And everything you're saying, Ralph, I think that's why I'm still sort of scratching my head as to why this deal was even made. Now, I'm going to give you a classic, you know, here's our example. Today's ball game, Moore gets lit up, and they bring in the guy they demoted out of the staff to come in and get some innings in, and he gets hit even harder. Now, my question to you, you know, if we're playing the fake GM, if we're playing, you know, hypothetical, we're the guys making the moves in the front office. Two guys that are questionable in ability on that roster, they're the guys that were responsible for the Giants losing today. The Giants scored 5 runs. There was a time when the Giants would score 5 runs, and that would be a gluttony of scoring, and we would win 5-0 or 5-1 when our pitching was what it once was. The guys up in that front office got to be scratching their head going, we've lost a little bit of focus here, and what brings us to the dance? And it's always been pitching. And, you know, especially superior pitching, not mediocre pitching, not, not just, make a deal for a potential all-star third baseman for a guy that has a below 500 record, above 4 ERA, who has trouble finding the strike zone. He mirrors nothing of the top 3 starters in the Giants rotation already. And I just sit here and I scratch my head. I mean, I've gone everywhere except actually shedding tears over this deal. And
don't shed it, Joe. Don't shed.
I just don't get it.
I just want you to remember that gray skies are gonna clear up. Wait a minute.
Well, you know what? And this is motivation.
I had to do a little Ethel Merman and drag, or I'm not happy.
Well, you know what? And that's great because you're inspiring me. You're motivating me because you, my friend, are a Mets fan, and I guess it could be a lot worse.
You know what's interesting, Timmy, is that tomorrow's game means one frick of a lot to both the Mets and the Giants. I was just telling my buddy Mert, who I do my New York baseball past, present, and future show right on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network tonight, how much I thought tomorrow's game means to the Mets. I'll say it means to the Giants, too. Both teams, Giants turn things around with this Mets turn things around with a big win today. If they keep it going tomorrow, it means something. Same thing. Last night, the Giants had a good win. They lost today, but if they win tomorrow, momentum it's a fleeting and a wonderful thing, but it could go either way. And
it's a great commodity. Momentum is you're exactly right. And the Giants' defense, and it isn't a defense. It's just a matter of fact thing. Thank God the Dodgers suck too, because neither of these clubs want to win. They really don't. They both are really not very good ball clubs right now. And when I look back over the season, how exceptionally well the Giants played, and the Dodgers, fell back 8 games before the All-Star break. They lost their ace, probably the best pitcher in baseball, and they gained all this momentum back and they gained all this ground back. And now that they're back together, back seesawing back and forth between positions at the top of the division, I'm grateful that the Dodgers aren't that good because it gives the Giants a little bit of hope that they can win this division, because I don't think the wild card will come out of the West in the National League. I don't believe it will. I don't think.
Oh, no. I think it'll be Pittsburgh. That'll be one of them. You got St. Louis. You got.
Miami's playing decent baseball.
Miami is fading a little bit. Let me just say 2 things about the trade. One thing is that I think that it was Bobby Evans's first trade. He was something.
He did Smith a week before that, the left-hander that he got for a couple minor leaguers, the kid from out of the bullpen from Milwaukee. But he
also picked up Nunez. So if you're just talking from a fantasy baseball sort of thing, if he wasn't thinking what we're thinking, the intangibles, the camaraderie of the players, the support system for each other, all those things. If he wasn't thinking that, and, there's a lot of general managers that play fantasy ball, so I can't blame him for, at least he got Nunez to fill the infield bill. That he picked the wrong pitcher is the second thing I want to say about the trade. A position player for a pitcher rarely works out for the team that's trading the position player. Rarely. I mean, I want to tell you that Duffy will come closer to what's on the back of his baseball card in terms of his future stats will come closer to his past stats than will a pitcher either way, no matter who that pitcher they got.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And see that this is really the first marquee trade that Bobby's made. I mean, he made some maneuvers that weren't so overt. I mean, this was a big deal that was involving Moore and Duffy. So it hasn't gone the way he had hoped it would. And as a Giants fan and a person that follows the club as I do, I shake my head. I go, what in the world are you? You know, I know you're hoping for a left-handed starter, but I think there were 3 or 4 other guys out in that market that had a better pedigree than did Moore, and that's just my opinion. So,
that I can't really attest to, because I will say that you and Bobby Evans know more than I do about who's out there, and I'm just talking about trades in general, and the idea of breaking up a clubhouse. I think now there are some clubhouses that are cancerous and need to be broken up, and some players that need to be out of there. Also, and we can talk about this next week, because I think potentially we're in line maybe to get Kenny Henderson as a guest. And
well, we are, the 2 of them, John D'Acquisto, along with him.
Yeah, that would be great. Johnny's been on these airs, Comfortably Zoned, 2 shows. He's been on Weighted Donuts. He's been with me over the years. I love Johnny. He is, aside just being the funniest guy in baseball.
He's a class act. He's a class act.
Absolutely. He's a terrific guy. But I want to say that Kenny, in another Giant trade, it's almost the same thing. The Giants trade, I think it was 74-5 when they traded Kenny Henderson to the White Sox for Bradley, who came over and promptly hurt his arm. And that hurt me as a Giant fan, because, listen, you see a player daily, they're going to mean more to you than a pitcher that you see every 5 days, unless that pitcher is Marichal or Spawn. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So Kenny was a good ball player, very solid, and I thought that outfield with Mays, Bonds, and Henderson was terrific. And I'd like to get his impressions on if he sees a correlation between the two trades, and that's that. But what do you see positive for the Giants coming up? Because things aren't all bad. Jose Pagan, for instance, is Jose Pagan. Did I say that?
Angel
Pagan is having a terrific year. Somebody asked me the other day, wouldn't the Mets want him back? And oh yeah, they would.
There's some consideration there. This is his contract year. He tweaked his right groin today, so he's going to have a couple of stints probably during the course of the year on the DL, not long runs or anything like that. But for the Giants and the way he fits into that lineup, he's invaluable. I mean, here's a guy that spent several years now with the Giants as their center fielder, and then they move him over to left, and he's done a very good job out there. And he is hitting as well as he's probably having as good of an offensive season he's had in his whole career. And I think a lot of that has to do is psychologically he knows he's looking for a contract. And when he signs this next deal, he'll be 37 years old. And it might behoove the Giants to consider bringing him back because of you can't just plug a guy into a lineup and think that they're going to win or it's going to work. The Giants' success is because of the chemistry that they have. Case in point, the Duffy deal and bringing in Matt Moore. There's right now there's not a lot of flow going on with that deal. Angel Pagan can go back to the Mets, but if it's not synchronized,
I don't think that, like, by next year, I don't think they're going to be wanting Angel Pagan. But with the injuries they have to Lagares and the only person on the roster who can play any center field is Diaza, who did very well today. I did happen to see a box score of that game.
But he's still hitting a $190. So I mean, you know, he's not the answer to
the, you know, of course, the Mets' heart and soul is that starting pitching. And I look at guys on that roster like a Wilmer Flores, he's invaluable to that club. He can play multiple positions.
Don't talk about depth. You should have somebody off the bench to replace somebody every day.
Like the Cardinals do, like the Giants have been successful in doing. And the Mets, I think, are trying to develop that sort of order, you know, in terms of what they want to do. They just don't have the right pieces yet. But Wilmer Flores is valuable to that club, isn't he?
Cespedes is back at full strength. Reyes is providing a spark. I got to give him that, and he can move over and play a little shortstop. And Flores can go to third.
And I like Jay Bruce in right field. I really like what Jay Bruce does for their lineup.
Right.
You know, he's got some decent pop, and he's a really good outfielder in right field. He's got a great arm, and he brings some veteran presence to that club. You know, and that's why that's going to work okay for them. That's why it'll work out all right for the Mets and Jay Bruce. But, you know, I think that the Mets need a catch.
What did the Giants give up? To interrupt you, but I suck at this, so I interrupt people. What did the Giants give up for Nunez? Don't remember. Was it prospect?
A couple of guys, a couple of minor leaguers, and I don't even think they were high on the board as far as prospects. One of the reasons I think the Twins were willing to let him go is because, of course, they're having such a poor year, one, and I think this is Nunez's contract year as well. So they knew that they could afford to give him up, because they weren't willing to spend the money that he's probably going to demand in the off season as a free agent.
Right.
You know, so
now if they like him, do players respond to being extended at this point?
You know, sometimes they would if they really felt comfortable with it, but I don't think the Giants are in any type of mood to do that. I don't think they're willing to do that. That would be a little bit imprudent for them. You know, wait until the season's over, and if he performs well, if he wins, let's look at a case like Marco Scudero when he came over from Cleveland. You know, and he clicked. Everything went well. When Sanchez went down at second, Scudero went right in there. What an incredible deal for the Giants, and they won a world championship with him. And at the back end of that season, or right after it was over, after they won the championship, they gave him another 3-year deal. I think it was for 3 years, $31 million or something for 3 years. You know, unfortunately, his back is with Sanchez and with Panic. These guys all have some back issues, but you know that they like anybody, show me, prove it to me. If you're worth it, we'll extend you a contract. And you know that's what the Giants did, but they didn't in midstream at the end of the season before playoffs even started say, here, we're going to offer you 3 years at X amount of dollars. That's just something that's really unheard of. I would be surprised if any club ever, has actually done something of the sort. I'm remembering a deal the Giants made a few years ago when they traded Zach Wheeler a promising right-hander to the Mets for Carlos Beltran. And Beltran was a huge bust. That was a horrible deal. And at the time, everybody was just shocked because they gave up their number one pitching prospect, who may quite possibly never pitch again in the major leagues. Well,
I'm hearing better things about his prognosis this week, where he'll probably be shut down for the year, but there's no structural damage to the surgery. He went to Dr. Andrews, and it's good news and bad news. The thing is with trades is that Beltran was never a disappointment to any team that had him in any way other than the Giants. Sometimes it just works out that way.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. And I think that as a general manager, though, who is astute enough, and I think that the regime and the front office understands this. They want to find guys that they feel are going to be part of that nucleus from a personality standpoint, et cetera. They're not looking for, a Harmon Killebrew, if you will, or somebody of that stature to come in. They don't need that. That's not the way this team is built. Beltran was a big name, and he had great success up until that deal, and he's having a tremendous year again this year with the Yankees. Beltran it didn't work out, and that's part of the deal. I mean, sometimes these deals don't always work out. So,
hey, Bobby Mercer came over here. It didn't work out with him.
Struggled greatly. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it does. It's nice when it works out. Here's something that got my interest this week. Connor Gillespie. He was a first-round draft choice and was very, very heralded. He was, quite frankly, a bust. And that he's coming back after being around and coming back and being a productive role player is kind of a nice thing. I mean,
it is a good story, isn't it? It really is. And it's paying off now in dividends for the Giants because he's back with the club he originally signed with.
Right.
And he was sort of lost in mediocrity there over the last several years. And I think in the role that he plays with the Giants and the way that Bruce Bochy uses him, he's fabulous. I mean, he came off the bench last night and he hit a bomb to right field. So he's done a great job in that capacity, which is redemption for both the Giants and for him because it's prolonging his career. He's going to play again somewhere next year, whether it's with the Giants or another club. Who knows? But what a great story! What a great story!
Yeah, I like that. Okay, last thing, Timmy, I want to propose something. I don't think there are any coaches in the Hall of Fame. I don't think there are any pitching coaches in particular. My guy, I'd like to recommend Dave Righetti.
Well, yeah, and I think these guys deserve incredible recognition.
Absolutely.
When I think about
start the ball rolling a little bit. To get in, it's going to take some publicity. It's going to take some calling attention to this guy. But he's been incredible for a long period of time. I mean, people come in, they can have flashes in the pan, players, coaches, managers. Give me some longevity. Give me a guy like Bochy, for instance, who can take a team. Traditionally, even Dusty Baker said that a manager after 4 or 5 years is apt to lose the attention of a ball club. Bochy has kept the attention and hasn't ever lost it for like 10 years now. They both should go in as a tandem. I really think.
Well, you would like to see that happen, but it's It's those that vote for them, and but I agree with you. I think a guy like Dave Righetti should. I think Leo Mazzoni should be in the Hall of Fame. He was the great pitching coach with
and there should the great scouts. The scout that signed Mays, for instance, should be the scout that signed Mickey Mantle, for instance. These great scouts make up for a lot. And
sure, and because you have general managers are going in, and field managers that are going in. Sports writers get elected in, or with the Ford T. Frick thing. So I think that there has to be recognition for guys that have won longevity. If you're in the game for a long time as a coach, you have the respect of your peers. That's one. I think I can think of 20 guys that come to mind, and even though they might have managed for a second or two, were always with the club because of what they brought in terms of experience, what they brought in terms of whatever the situation was. Don Zimmer was another guy that, was. Yeah, exactly. Guys that managed to hang on, or what they contributed, like a Jimmy Davenport, what he did for their minor league system, for the Giants minor league system. And there are guys that we don't even know their names that have done the same thing for other organizations because they just don't get the recognition. They're behind the scenes because everything's about the.
It was nice having Gary Davenport on.
It was.
And I hope he'll come back soon and often, because he gave us an insight as to what player development is all about, and it's terrific. Hey, Timmy, we're reaching the end of it. This is what it is. It's as good as it gets. And
it is. Now, next week I'm looking forward to having some special guests, so we'll certainly tie that up in the course of the week.
Some things. This is cathartic for both of us because we get to clarify our thoughts in such a manner that couldn't be done anywhere else. So,
well, I appreciate it. I look forward to my Saturday evenings with you and the few listeners that we have out there. It's a privilege, and thank you.
I know, but let me tell you, it's growing, and we've only had this network going for like 6 months. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that a man can't put a word together could be in radio.
Well, you're 170 years old. You're from Brooklyn, for crying out loud.
Whoa, in a few more weeks, I'll be back there. You know what I'm saying?
Hey. Hey, just don't go screaming with
in 6 months, we have a quality baseball podcast coming out almost on a daily basis. Some days I'm in on it, so that. But the other days,
well, you're the guy that makes it all happen. You're the guy behind the curtain, Ralph. You're the Wizard of Oz, baby.
Tim, I'm a schmeckler. I don't know. I'll teach you Yiddish sometime. I'm a schmeckler.
Okay.
Love you, buddy. Be good.
I love you too. Have a great week, everyone. And,
same time, same bat station.
You got it. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.